This strong piece of energy I've been talking about for the last several videos is going to come to a conclusion in the coming days, but that doesn't mean the eastern United States won't finish out with some snowfall and chill in some zones. This video has all the details you need to know on who will cool down the most and who will see some flakes, plus I'll give you a look at a longer range pattern that screams snow.
One nation weather.
Thank you for taking time out of the middle of your week to tune into this video. I really appreciate it as always. The weather model maps that I use in my videos are from Weatherbelt, and if you have not already, there is a free trial link below in the description of this video for you to check out so you can access those maps for yourself. And of course, one other quick reminder before I get into this video, if you enjoy this forecast and you are not already subscribed, I'd love it if you do that right down below for free here on YouTube. But let's go ahead and get right into it using the future radar from our European model. I want to give you the details on our near-term active weather in the east, including the cool down and some snow bands. Later in the video, of course, I will break down the details on the longer range pattern shift that is on the way. But here we go, starting off with this active weather that we've been having in the central and eastern parts of the country and is expected to continue at least through the end of the week in some zones. You can see as we go into the end of our Wednesday, November 20th of 2024, we are likely going to have the leftovers of our low pressure system that I've been tracking all week. It started down here in the south central plains. Now by the time we go into our Wednesday, bringing some snow and possibly even some winter storm conditions with blowing snow as a result of the wind up here to the Dakotas and Minnesota. As a result of this low pressure system, we are going to see some northwest flow cutting towards a new low pressure that's likely going to be stationed somewhere around the Great Lakes. So while this cool air will not have quite caught up to this rainfall that we're going to see in the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley at this point in time, as we go out of Wednesday into Wednesday night and into Thursday, with energy still lingering around Lake Erie and surrounding Great Lakes, we are going to see a north to south flow across them, and that will likely induce the chance for some snowfall here into places like Wisconsin, Michigan, as well as down into Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. You can really see this already beginning to play out as we go out of our Wednesday night and into our Thursday. As our newest storm that was forming around the Great Lakes Wednesday begins to pivot back towards our older storm that was weakening around Minnesota Wednesday as well, we are going to see the cool air from our old storm interact with this new one, and that is going to be what creates that snow chance. Where you see some of those bluish shades, where I've got the arrows moving from northwest to southeast, that's where that best chance for some possibly even lake-enhanced snowfall bands will come. The exact positioning of this newer low-pressure system is really going to determine exactly where those bands set up, but somewhere here in the Great Lakes and Midwest into the Ohio Valley, someone's going to get lucky, I can tell you that, or at least if you are a snow lover, you could get lucky. Then in addition to that low, as if that's not enough, we've also got a coastal low-pressure system at the same time Thursday morning towards the New England states, here in New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, back down through New Jersey as well, and even eastern Pennsylvania, we're going to have a pretty solid flow of rainfall. And this coastal low is actually part of the reason we're seeing enough moisture being supplied into our one any Great Lakes region. They're going to kind of do a dance around each other as we go through our late Thursday into our Thursday night. As a result of this, breezy conditions are expected to be persistent across the entirety of all these regions, feeling the effects of precipitation. That could mean for some blowing snow if we see snow here in some parts of the Ohio Valley, even over there towards Pennsylvania at some point Thursday night going into Friday. We may transition over to snowfall between that Great Lakes low and our coastal storm. You can see it's really going to be that coastal storm that hangs on the longest. Each one of these lows really just popping up for a day or two before weakening down. This one on its last leg Friday afternoon, still some cool rain, maybe even some flooding in spots, while other spots see some isolated, heavier snowfall. I do want to point out that while the heaviest snow will likely be somewhere in the West Virginia mountains over this entire region on Friday, I wouldn't rule out some snow even filling regular areas down in the lower elevations like Philadelphia, Albany, New York, around that same time frame and as we go into Saturday. So be on the lookout for that. In fact, let's go ahead and talk now about the total snowfall projections from a collection of models kind of being blended out here into our European ensembles. First of all, starting off with the near-term snow that's going on as I film this video, and then through our Tuesday night into Wednesday up here in the North Central Plains. Out of North Dakota into northwest Minnesota, we could see some patchy blizzard-like conditions as a result of the 4 to 6 inches of snow that many spots are going to see, in addition to the wind. There's going to be a little break in the snow as you go through places like Minnesota, the southeastern part of the state. Minneapolis not seeing much more than a dusting to an inch or two. But then we pick up back with those totals, probably somewhere from around 3 to 6 inches here, where we see that heavier snow surrounding Lake Michigan. That could include Milwaukee, Wisconsin, southwest parts of Michigan in the Kalamazoo region, Chicago, Illinois, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Indianapolis, and then down here into southwest Ohio, pushing on the door as well of northeastern Kentucky. And then, of course, in addition to that snowfall, we're going to see that final round of snow late Thursday going into Friday with our coastal storm. Keep in mind that each of these areas of snow that I've been showing you really has its own area of low pressure associated with it, so there will be some variability in those totals. Make sure you're staying tuned to your local National Weather Service for all the latest info. But I can certainly tell you up here, and especially the higher elevations of West Virginia, we could see a foot plus of snow, maybe even northeast Pennsylvania into some parts of New York. We're seeing a signal for 6 to 12 inches of some snowfall, so this could be a decent event. It's just going to be in isolated fashion in a lot of cases here where we actually see those heaviest totals and the most decent accumulations if you are a snow lover. One thing I'm zooming in on now that's going to accompany our snow is going to be those wind gusts, and that starts really here as we go out of our Tuesday night as I'm filming this video into our Wednesday, November 20th. With anything that falls up here over the upper Midwest into the rest of the Midwest states as we go through Wednesday and Wednesday night, all these bluish turning to greenish shades, those indicate 30 to 45 mile per hour wind gusts across a pretty broad region, so make sure you're staying tuned to your National Weather Service, see if they issue you a wind advisory, maybe even a high wind warning if the wind criteria gets high enough for that. Of course, you want to make sure that you have all loose outdoor objects tied down in this instance for sure as a result of these wind gusts, not just up there over the upper Midwest, but also as we push into the rest of the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Great Lakes. Again, this is part of the reason the snow could actually turn a little bit hazardous even if it doesn't accumulate too much. We could see almost blizzard-like conditions with flying snow all over the place. If you're trying to travel on those interstates in Illinois, Indiana, late Thursday, it could definitely be a very treacherous travel time there. By the time we go out of Thursday into Friday, any snow still going on over the Ohio Valley or Northeast, or just any precipitation in general, really only looking like 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts based on this model, but I'll keep you posted on if that changes. The storm definitely looking like it will be dying down, of course, along with the other low pressures as we go through this weekend. Now I want to talk about the cool down that's going to be associated with the storm that I had in the thumbnail to this video. As we go from Wednesday all the way through our Friday, I want to track those temperatures so you can see the changes. Starting off with our Wednesday, November 20th in the morning, really just looking like a mild morning here from the Ohio Valley back down to the southeast U.S. as we are not behind the cold front that I just drew. In areas that are going to see freezing temperatures for highs later in the week, we are going to be near 50 for a morning low Wednesday here in southeast Ohio, parts of Kentucky, West Virginia, and then we're even in the mid-50s to low 60s as you go down to the southeast states like Georgia and the Carolinas. Back behind that front, though, up there towards the upper Midwest, into the north central plains and back towards the Rockies, you can see we've got plenty of 20s and teens to go around, so the cool air is definitely coming. It's already making its way southeast by the time we go into our Wednesday afternoon with 30s as peak temperatures up there, even into parts of northern Iowa, west central Wisconsin, as that snow band behind our first low begins to make its way towards the Great Lakes. Still near 50 in Detroit, Michigan, though, on our Wednesday, still near 50 even in Chicago. I would say these warmer temperatures that we have for highs, even the day before we start to see some snowfall set in by Thursday morning, those could definitely keep the ground temperatures warmer and allow for accumulation to take a little bit of time to get going, even if the snow is heavy in some of these areas around Lake Michigan by this Thursday morning time frame. By Thursday morning, though, you can see the air temperatures are definitely cool enough for snow, plenty of 20s and 30s despite the clouds trying to keep the warmth trapped in this region. Even back on up here to the north central plains, back behind this front, we are still rocking the chilly air with teens and even some single digits up there into North Dakota. Only 20s and 30s over there for highs on a Thursday, and really only peaking in the mid to upper 30s over here, where we're going to have that chance for some of these heavy snow bursts Thursday afternoon in the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley. That's why I'm really focusing in on these temperatures specifically for Thursday, because this is where we're going to kind of be on that rain and snow line in a lot of these zones. I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, though, whether you see 2 or 6 inches of snow might really depend on whether your temperature is 40 or 35 for a peak on your Thursday. Here we go out of Thursday and into our Friday morning, though. Another chilly one really across a lot of the entire country, even down into the Florida Panhandle. We're seeing some low 40s, down to the Texas Gulf Coast, some 40s. Back up, of course, the further you go through the plains and Great Lakes, so we're seeing plenty of 20s and even some teens up there. Friday afternoon, a chilly one, especially as you dig down with that trough in the eastern U.S. This is a lot of the reason why I drew that thumbnail of showing the blue in this region, because Friday afternoon is going to struggle even in some of the areas where we're clearing out and seeing sunshine back towards the Midwest. It's going to struggle to be above 40 to 45 degrees Friday for an extended period of time. The only really warm area is still at that point down towards the Gulf Coast with 60s and 70s there. Now I want to go ahead and take a look with our GFS ensemble members up 15 to 20,000 feet into the atmosphere, because it is time to discuss what could happen by the time we go towards our Thanksgiving week. Blues on these maps indicate troughs like the dip in the jet stream we're going to have in the eastern U.S. later this week. Oranges and reds, just like what you see there moving into the central U.S. later this week, those indicate ridging. And overall, the story as we go out of the end of this week, through the upcoming weekend and into the early part of next week is going to be ridging and warmer than average air building back in to a lot of the country. You can see this here by the time we go towards our Sunday, November 24th, around the 5, 6, 7 p.m. time frame. This ensemble collection, basically a blend of models being averaged out. They're saying that from Louisiana to Michigan, we are going to make a very quick recovery behind our most recent cool down at the end of this week. By the time we go to our Monday of next week, probably 5, 10, 15 degree above average temperatures there. But as quickly as we make a recovery and a weak ridge tries to redevelop, that weak ridge is not going to have time to fully get itself together. It's like if you're in the morning and you only have 5 minutes to get yourself ready for the day, you are not going to be fully prepared for, whatever you've got coming up that day. This ridge is not going to be able to handle what is coming in from the west. This is a strong trough exiting the western United States. This blue area exiting the Four Corners region and trying to make its way out into the central United States is probably going to create some sort of active weather zone as it interacts with whatever ridge we've got. Could this mean, where we've already got some of the cooler air moving in from the north and west, we get some snow if a low pressure system forms by this point? We certainly could. And of course, the later we go in the week, if we have any low pressure systems interacting with this huge trough that's going to be digging in, I would certainly say the further north you go, the better chance you have of getting some snow out of that low pressure system. There's still lots of fine details about how many storms we could see riding between the new trough and the ridge. There's still all sorts of details that need to be pinpointed, but one thing I can tell you for sure, there's going to be a ridge that did not set its alarm clock correctly, and it is just going to get slammed out of the way at some point during our Thanksgiving week. I can almost assure you that at this point. Let me show you why I can say that with confidence. It's not just the GFS ensemble members showing this. These European ensembles do the exact same thing with their temperature anomalies. And notice the early part of next week, probably through at least Tuesday, we are warmer than average from Texas over to the mid-Atlantic and even further west than that, possibly. But some point out of the middle part of the week, heading towards the back half of the week, we see enough contrast, maybe some multiple storms moving through with their north sides having snow. Again, that's the part that's still to be determined, but some point mid to late next week, this is what's very likely. The ridge is getting fired from the weather pattern because the boss has found a much better contestant for the job. It's this cool air blast coming out of the central United States that's probably going to make its way east. Am I saying this is 100% no, but it is looking very likely already at this point. And again, when you have cool air meeting up against some level of warm air, there's got to be a storm somewhere. So we're going to be talking about something as we go towards next week, and I'm sure lots of people will be hyping it more than they need to as well. That's why you can stick right here at One Nation Weather for all the consistent, accurate, and educational updates as we get closer to that system. And of course, I'll keep you posted in my community tab up with what's going on with this current kind of setup going on in the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and Northeast. I'll see you in the next forecast video update, which is going to be set for Thursday as of right now.
One Nation Weather.